Alright, apart from these three, who is your favourite member of the Band of the Hawk? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there will be people that will say Gaston, but Judeau feels like a more significant character on the whole. A character that was never the centre of attention, someone who didn't play a largely important role, yet he is still in our hearts as being a character we cared about. While Berserk has more fleshed out characters in the later parts of the story, especially with Guts' friends, and the Golden Age was mainly focused around the trio of Guts, Griffith and Casca. I'm making this video to remember the characters who were more in the secondary cast of characters, and my favourite one of those was Judeau, a young, cheerful member of the Band of the Hawk, who was always wearing a kind face. He is adept at many things, perceptive and good at catching things that others often miss, altruistic to his core, a quality that is scarce in the world of Berserk, potentially a detriment to him as he hides a lot, and leaves the story with a sense of unfulfillment. And in my opinion, it's the death of this character that hits the hardest in Eclipse because it leaves us with a detail in which it recontextualizes his character. So with that in mind, let's talk more in depth about Judeau. One thing that sets Judeau apart from the rest of the Hawks is that he isn't a yes man. If his leader is acting illogically or intends to do something of ill intent, he will call that out. And this is established the first time we see Judeau. When Corcus and the rest of the Band of the Hawk are allowed to attack Guts after he defeats Bezuzo, Judeau questions Griffith if it's a good idea. It's a tiny detail, but I believe it's fundamental to Judeau's character. As we see, this attitude is something he carries throughout his time in the story. In his proper introduction, we see he is the first person to strike up friendly conversation with Guts. In this conversation, we are shown that Judeau is open and wants Guts to feel at ease with his new situation. Judeau was one of the first to join the Band of the Hawk, and likely it was because of Griffith's charisma that he joined. Being one who is likely to know Griffith the most, it is very interesting that he mentions that he doesn't really know what type of person Griffith is, whether he is a good guy or a bad guy. If you would ask someone else in the band like Corcus what type of person Griffith is, they would say with no question that Griffith is a good guy. This illustrates that Judeau is nuanced in how he sees the world around him, never completely making assumptions about the things he knows he doesn't have the answer to. And at the end of this conversation, he tells Guts, "I'm sure you'll find it here, the place where you belong." For as young as he is, Judeau is mature for his age and has gone through quite a journey. I will talk about this at a later point, but before joining the Band of the Hawks, Judeau recognized the limits of his own ability, and so deciding that he cannot achieve his own dream, he found someone he could help push to their dream, that being Griffith. And so when Judeau says this to Guts, I believe he can relate to Guts, not knowing where you belong and what your purpose is. He was once in this position too. These are words of support, understanding what it's like to be in Guts' shoes. Judeau remains in support of Guts for the rest of the story and is a truer friend than Griffith is to him. As Griffith views Guts mainly as a tool, Judeau views Guts as a human being with their own decisions. Though he was sad when Guts announced his desire to leave the Hawks, ultimately he made peace and understood why his friend wanted to leave, whereas Griffith reacted visibly different. This is because Judeau is highly compassionate and empathetic. Going back to the words he spoke at the end of his conversation with Guts, knowing Judeau, he doesn't literally mean that Guts will find that his purpose is to be in the Band of the Hawk. He is saying whatever you are searching for will be found during your time with the Band of the Hawk. And I believe Judeau was right in this regard, as Guts finds the woman he loves and comes to realize he doesn't want to live under the weight of someone else's dream. Judeau often has a knack for seeing things that aren't as evident to other people, almost like a foresight. This is one example of that. Another one would be the fact he is the first to notice that the dynamic between Guts and Casca is shifting. He can read emotions well even if the other person is suppressing what they're feeling. This is especially true when it comes to Casca, understanding her more than she tends to understand herself. He recognizes that she was softer after spending time with Guts, and asks Guts what is going on between the two. Guts is perplexed as to why Judeau would even ask that, yet again demonstrating he sees social dynamics change before the people involved in those dynamics realize it themselves. He then encourages Guts to try his luck with her, a thing that seems like a kind gesture on the surface, but once you know more about Judeau, you will realize it goes deeper than that. Within the same scene, Judeau also lays it down for Guts that Casca and Griffith cannot be, as Judeau realizes that Griffith has a key to his dream, and that is Charlotte. I am not sure if any others in the Band of the Hawk also knew this, but again, it's just another instance of Judeau showing his observation skills. Out of everyone in the Hawks, he understands Griffith the most. However, Griffith is still a blind spot for Judeau, as he never saw coming the doom that would befall him and his friends, that would be caused by the very leader he put his efforts into helping. A man who is pretty good at a bunch of different things, he's definitely the type of individual you would want in your mercenary band. In the Band of the Hawk, he fits the role of being a Swiss Army knife. Despite being on the younger side, he tends to hold more wisdom than most older than him do. He is often telling others around him and the audience what certain things are. He does this by explaining Midlands traditions and histories, explaining how Charlotte fits in with Griffith's dream. He is the one telling us the lore about Nosferatu Zod. He is clearly knowledgeable. He also possesses decent medical knowledge, giving Casca the elf dust he collected in his past to give to Guts to help with his wounds. In the anime movies, he can accurately say that Griffith will never be able to return to what he was. He's also one of the first to comprehend the gravity of Griffith's circumstance and what that entails for the future of the Band of the Hawk. And because he was part of a travelling circus group, it shaped him into an agile fighter, in which he also gained very good knife throwing skills, something that Guts has in his arsenal later in the story. Although Judeau has views and opinions of his own, he is very good at removing them from the equation when the situation calls for it. A good example of this is when he thinks it would make for a good strategy to either use Princess Charlotte as a hostage or to ask her if she would like to come with the Band of the Hawk, to make the rescue plan of Griffith fall more in their favour. A kidnap another individual, especially a royal one, is not a morally correct thing to do, but Judeau is using his tactical brain for the best outcome for the situation they find themselves in. It's probably because of his precision and capability to get stuff done efficiently that he wasn't chosen to assassinate the king's brother. I say this because Griffith is also good at reading people. We know that. And if Griffith wanted a silent assassination, he would have picked Judeau, but he didn't. And I think there are a couple of reasons why he didn't do so. Judeau would get the job done, achieving the exact object of assassinating the king's brother. However, Griffith decided to use Guts, someone whose skill is primarily in the heat of battle, face to face with an opponent. He is not as capable of playing the part in the shadows, and because of this, he is uncertain and panics and kills Julius' son, Adonis, effectively killing two birds with one stone. And there's debate whether Griffith planned for that. And because I've established that Judeau has no quarrels with questioning Griffith, if Griffith tried to sell him on this plan, Judeau would probably have a lot of issues with it and would be critical of the overall plan. Griffith does not need someone like that. That's why he chose Guts, who even at the time said it was stupid of Griffith to even ask him, and he says he should just command him to do it instead.
This is not like you. You should just order me to do your bidding, without saying all that other crap.
That's what Griffith wants, unquestionable loyalty. However, despite being good at all these things, he doesn't particularly excel at any one thing, and lacks the sort of talent that Guts and Griffith hold. But Judeau is aware of this. He even says he's a jack of all trades and knows he isn't the best at anything, but strives to be the best he can be. Perhaps when he first realised his limits, it was demoralising for him, but because Judeau has a great sense of humility, he would come to accept him. And on the whole, his inability to be the best doesn't negatively affect him. To conclude this section, I will reiterate that Judeau's strongest qualities are his sharpness and compassion. This is what sets him truly apart from the typical all brawn, no brains type of soldier that is common among mercenary bands. I believe, though there isn't outright confirmation, he knew that Guts had a part to play in the assassination of Julius and Adonis, but probably it's because he's not comfortable with the reality, he chooses not to engage with it. The bar scene where Caucus is being his insufferable self, calling Guts a big baby.
You're just too damn weak to admit that you've already exceeded your station.
You need to shut the fuck up.
Though Judeau probably rolls his eyes every time he opens his mouth, he acknowledges where he came from and holds no negative feelings towards him. His qualities are ones that would make him the leader you would actually want, because he is empathetic, not greedily ambitious, but intelligent. Those who don't want to be leaders are often more suited for it than those who self-proclaim themselves as such. Despite Judeau having the capacity to grow further in the story, we know Berserk ain't a happy story, and so, of course, his journey was ultimately to become an offering for Griffith's sacrifice. In Judeau's final moments, he shows great bravery in helping to get Casca to safety, even shielding her from lethal attacks that end up causing him severe damage. And this part is something we will never forget. It's Judeau's most impactful moment, and it's what we remember most about him. and that is his final words. As he bleeds out, being helped by Kasuga, he looks to her with an adoring look and thinks about his regret of not telling her what he's always wanted to say to her. It's in this moment that we learn that Judeau has unrequited love for Kasuga, and having sacrificed himself so the one that he loves can live, we are left with his heartbreaking final words.
You cry a lot when you're alone, don't you, Kasuga?
These words are perfect. Dying words are pure. Very rarely are they words of deceit. They will likely always be true to the person. These words tell us a great deal about Judeau. Kasuga had to be the tough leader of the Band of the Hawk, and like a lot of leaders, they often hide and only let themselves feel something when the troops aren't around. But this shows that Judeau was always keeping an eye on her, showing he cares but never right out voicing it till this final moment. Though he is skilled and is a tough warrior and self-proclaimed smooth talker, confessing his feelings to a girl is something he cannot do. Sadly, he dies with unfulfilled dreams and goals and the regret he didn't tell Kasuga how he felt. This is the death of the eclipse that hits the hardest because of the sense of unfulfillment and lost potential. It also recontextualizes a lot of his character. After we gain this knowledge, we see sprinkles throughout the story where it is evident that he does hold love for her, such as telling her that Griffith does care about her when she was in doubt about it, checking up on her when she was the temporary leader of the Hawks. And what I think is particularly sad about this is when someone comes around who is more compatible with Kasuga, Judeau realizes it and puts aside his feelings altogether, and has to make peace that there is a better match other than himself for the woman he loves. And he never, ever complains about this. He goes leaps and bounds further by helping Gus discover his feelings for Kasuga. There are many times where Judeau seems like he's trying to set the two up. It's this neglect of his desires that makes it sad. Because yes, Gus and Kasuga do make sense, but poor Judeau, man. Being able to recognize that someone else is better suited than you is something that a lot of us have trouble seeing. However, like I said, because he's a mature person, he accepts it. Now take this idea of essentially rejection and compare it to Griffith. Yes, it's night and day. People need to be more like Judeau, leave the ego at the door and open your eyes to everything around you. I would say the world of Berserk doesn't deserve someone like Judeau, but honestly, I don't think our world even deserves someone like that. Judeau is a superb example of a support character done well, and you simply cannot hate this man. His character is subtle. He is not overly dramatic or standoutish. He is the quiet observer and is even self-aware that he isn't the main character. He is actually one of the more relatable figures in the story, and we are closer to being Judeau than Guts. I know Guts is relatable to a lot of people in terms of his story, but a lot of us are often left with feelings of unfulfillment and feeling overshadowed by people. In the Golden Age, Kasuga felt something deep for Griffith, but she knew that Charlotte was overshadowing her. We're told by Judeau why Kasuga and Griffith cannot be. So there's irony in the fact that Judeau likes Kasuga, but he thinks that Guts is more suitable for her. I do think Guts and Judeau are somewhat similar to each other. While the obvious yin and yang type of ordeal would be Guts and Griffith, Guts and Judeau serve as a sort of parallel. Judeau is smaller in stature and Guts is taller and bigger. They have similar qualities such as being empathetic and having a good head for strategy, but they just choose to express it differently. The message to me of Judeau is not about achieving greatness or whatever, but about enduring and doing good till the end. He resonates so deeply because he doesn't quite get the recognition he deserves within the world of the story, and the fact that his story ends with sadness. I said that he is at peace with being in the position that he is in, but with a few conversations he's had and his final words, I can't help but think that Judeau was hiding more than he was letting on. I feel like he does hold a lot of regret, and in his final moments, I think he painfully realizes that it was all stupid. Stupid to have lived with these regrets, because at the end, it puts everything into perspective, and you realize the things you feared were never as big and scary as you might have thought. I said before that most of us will be like Judeau over Guts. This is because we need to be realistic. While Guts and Griffith are more important people in the grand scope of the world in Berserk, the reality is, most of us will not become that important. A lot of us are limited people. Not everyone watching this video will achieve their ultimate dream. It's just the way it goes. But Judeau teaches us that, at the end of the day, it's okay. Judeau accepts his limits and is generally comfortable with it, a feat that very few can do. And it's that acceptance that makes Judeau one of the more confident ones in the Band of the Hawk. It's that acceptance of letting go that makes it easier for us to be happy in the end. But again, just like Judeau, we are human and we can never be perfect. Judeau died with unresolved feelings, mainly over his inability to communicate his feelings to Kasuga. So, If there's something to learn from Judeau's mistake, is that as far as we know, we only get one shot at this life. Don't spend time fearing the unknown, and instead go into the unknown and explore it, because you never know, that one girl could say yes.